name's Orion Miller. I'm a surfer, musician, producer. Generally, I dig creative stuff, and yeah, I'm living here in Montreal, doing my thing. I'm from BC originally. Moved out here basically because of the thriving arts scene. I really was into kind of the Montreal vibe. There's a really sweet underground for music specifically, but also just arts in general. So my band is called the Ohm Sound. We're a trio, and we play kind of neo-soul, jazz, hip-hop, prog kind of blend. We call it prog hop, but it's basically a blend of all kinds of different styles. Marina and I, the keyboard player, and I, we've played music together for a long time. And the drummer I knew because I went to school with him a long time ago. And we all kind of just ended up in Montreal. And that's when we count the forming of the band. Even though Marina and I were playing with another drummer before then, when we all came together in Montreal, that's when this style really developed into what it is now. Being influenced by that Montreal scene and also just creating all that music always together is what really helped us to develop that. So we play shows, we travel all over Canada playing shows and festivals. We have tours set up for Europe coming soon. I do all the production myself, which is also another unique feature of what we do because we can have total creative liberty and there's no limits. If we have a song and we want to write it and then we want to record it, we can do it the same day just like that. So it's really freeing having that ability. Lyrically, we have a strong hip-hop element in our music, and I think Montreal also influenced that. I already rapped before coming here, but when I came to Montreal and saw the MCs here and got more into the hip-hop scene here, it further developed that sound and hip-hop or rapping as a tool to spread some kind of social change or some kind of message. And just having traveled, we have a really strong message of unity and bringing people together and coming into your kind of personal power, overcoming your shit. And I think that's music is an amazing tool, and being able to express that kind of message is a really cool thing to be able to share.
Might as well correct yourself before you wreck yourself. Need versus want versus money versus health versus wealth. Definitions justify things we could do without. Deify me and mine, blind eye till we bottom out. Static. The rhythm of a man, a woman walking. Ties to circulation as much as living vines interlocking. But it's shocking, people are products, so don't be mocking. They clock in your every moment, logged on or off, they're watching and they're not stopping. Defrauding and robbing.
Yeah, so moving to Montreal was a big transition in lifestyle as well as for my music and my sports as well, because back in BC I was really focused on like outdoor mountain sports basically. So I was doing the mountain biking, as I mentioned, and mountain biking and rock climbing mostly. Yeah, so I learned to surf in Australia when I bought that van that came with that terrible waterlogged board. And that was definitely an experience because I'd surfed once before when I was like 10 years old in Mexico with my family, just on the whitewash. And suddenly I was in my head, because of snowboarding and everything, I was really confident. But once I paddled out there on this board that did not perform and in heavy Australian waves, I was like, wow, this is the real deal. Luckily, the waves were powerful enough that once I caught it, even on my waterlogged board, I was able to actually surf it. But it took me a long time to get there. Like, it's a very challenging sport. And I think that the confidence helped me though, because there was a lot of like salty locals that might have been like, who is this guy coming out here messing up my waves? But the fact that I was out there on such a crappy board in such big surf, and that I was still willing to go for it and just get slammed, I think I gained a bit of respect there, which was nice. I didn't have to deal with any like antagonistic attitudes, which is kind of common in big surf spots. So I was really lucky that I had kind of I was on my own, but I wasn't pushed out, which was really nice. and it's even better if you have a supportive group, but that's, I was traveling, I was moving every single day. So basically after a while I figured it out. I learned to surf sort of, and I loved it though. Even if I didn't catch a wave, just being out in the salt water and the sunshine in Australia was absolutely amazing. So I totally fell in love with the sport, and the few times that I got, a little lick of foam over my shoulder as I was trying to ride a wave, it was like such an amazing experience that I was 100% hooked for life. So when we moved back here to Canada, I was like, I didn't really think about it. I was more on the music train. I was like, I want to go out to Montreal and explore that. But when I found out there was a river wave here, I was like, this is gonna change my life. I'm gonna keep doing this sport. And it's really almost like a mind cleanse. You can have so much stuff going on in your life, but the minute I get out in the water, all that goes away. And I hear a ton of surfers talk about that as well. And luckily in Montreal, the community is really cool. Everyone's super supportive. I think river surfing, because the wave is static, basically the current's coming and it hits a rock or some kind of thing on the bottom, and it pushes the water forward and creates like a turbulent, basically it looks just like an ocean wave, except it's not moving. I think the fact that the wave is always there makes people stress a lot less, and it makes the communities a lot more welcoming. That's a really cool thing. I've found that in Ottawa when I've surfed there. In Alberta, there's a river wave in Kananaskis, same thing. It's a really chill vibe, and here in Montreal as well. And as far as the actual surfing, it's different. It's like another sport. The wave is still, it's not, so it's a lot less kind of on your rails, kind of trying to move with the wave, and you have more time basically to anticipate your movements. And you have to be, just like in the ocean, when you catch speed and you go ahead, you need to do a cutback to slow yourself down so that you don't run away from the wave and lose it. In the river, though, it's weird because you're the one moving and the wave is not. So really it's the same motions, but it's totally different in application. It feels really bizarre when you first start doing it. And depending on the level of the water, the wave can be like knee high or so, and kind of really mushy, and it's almost like you're going uphill, like really weird and choppy. Or it can be like shoulder high, totally green, meaning no foam at the top. You have to paddle super hard to get in, and you have this like 20 to 30 foot space of just play space where you can just shred back and forth, like backside or front side, whatever you like. So a lot of people ask me like, what's going through your head when you're surfing in the winter in Montreal? And basically nothing's really going through my head. There's a wave, and no matter what the temperature is, I'm gonna be there. So as long as you have good equipment, you'll be okay. But there is a line as well, and it's a very different thing than the summer. The summer you can hang out there all day. You don't really think as much about any of the dangers besides actually swimming through rapids. But in the winter, if you do get cold, you're gonna get hypothermia for sure. So you make sure you're well equipped, you make sure your car's nearby, you bring hot water and tea and all that kind of thing. But once you're equipped, it's not that big of a deal, and it's pretty awesome because there's way less people. And most people aren't willing to put up with the discomfort that goes along with winter surfing. When it's minus 20 Celsius plus another 10 degrees of wind chill, like it gets uncomfortable. It's blizzarding, you can't really see the wave. So it's another thing, but it's also another world. You're out there and you can't see anything except for you and the wave, the whole circle. Sometimes the shore is blotted out because of blizzard. You can't even see where you are. It's a pretty magical thing. Yeah, the ice is another thing. If ever people want to come out or want to try surfing in the winter, I always say, yeah, like I'll go out with you and show you the ropes, because sometimes it looks like slush coming down, and you get out there and it's like thick pieces of ice like this, and it looks like broken glass. And as it comes down, it's about 1 to 2 feet thick of this like thick shards of ice. And if that hits your board, it's gonna smash your board. For one, you're gonna have big dents in it. And if you hit your head on it or something, then that's obviously even more dangerous. Sometimes there's a big swirling pit of this like kind of churning ice chunks. They're all like from between this size to smaller, and they're about this thick and about a foot deep. And you have to, if you get stuck in that swirling pit, it's like dragging yourself across sand. You can't really swim. You're just kind of dragging yourself across the ice. It's savage, but I love it. It's amazing. And then on the big days, the big ice days, that's when you really have to be careful, because you'll have pieces the size of semi-trailers coming down that are like a meter thick. And that is a really dangerous thing. And you have to know where to draw the line. Like, if this piece is coming at me, can I dodge it, or do I get out of the way and ditch the wave? And that's why it's really good, if anyone thinking of trying winter surfing, always better to go with someone who's experienced, because you don't mess around with that kind of thing. If you hit your head, you're unconscious in rapids in -20, forget about it. And a lot of people think surfers are just bums that go out and float in the waves and just surf. And maybe some of them are, and I've probably been in that space too. But training it'll take you to the next level. And for me, I have a pretty solid routine of doing yoga a lot. I find that really, really helps with my overall flexibility and kind of deeper core strength, which is really, really key for surfing. And I also do some specific physio exercises, weights, movements on a regular basis that really help with surfing as well. Just having some kind of routine like that, where you're aware of your body and aware of what you need for your surfing or for your sport, is going to make the biggest difference. In the same way that you have to train your body, you also have to train your mind. So it's, I think especially, it's important for any sport, but especially in a sport where you're in a quote unquote dangerous situation, if fear comes in, you're done. Your body's not going to perform. And that could be a football player being worried because the other team has a star player, or that could be because you're paddling into a really heavy wave and you're afraid that if you start thinking about the worst case scenario, that's going to totally mess you up, and then you won't perform, and then that worst case scenario is more likely to happen. So I really love the whole sports psychology aspect behind that, and also just applied to life in general, like having a good attitude towards pretty much anything that comes into your life is super important. So for me, for surfing, it's a good way to practice what I preach, and even lyrically in our music, we're talking about that kind of stuff as well. So in the surf, it's a way to calm down, but it's also a way to challenge yourself, because you're in situations that are uncomfortable. And if you have that smooth, calm mindset, then even when you're in a turbulent situation, you're gonna know how to be calm, and you're gonna know how to get through it in the best way. So that's kind of the philosophy behind how I surf and how I want to live my life, is to be chill even when shit's going down. And that's something that's I think everyone could learn from in COVID. I think everyone's being forced to learn that lesson because of COVID anyway. So if you can practice on your own time through meditation or surfing or your own sport or just any kind of discipline really, then it's going to help your life overall.
But I trained for this, retaliate, lyrical hook to KO. Shift time, I'm with it, intuition, no tomorrow. Incipient intelligence, ingrained in power, borrow. Slip into the dynamo.